Welcome to today's course, Ideation What Makes a Good Business Idea. My name is Brian Brown. I'll be your presenter today. And I have a background of over 20 years of economic and private development experience, including opening my own business in the past. I look forward to working with you as we get through the process of creating your business idea and working towards your growth and development as an entrepreneur. Let's get started. Today's class is brought to you by a partnership between the Chesapeake Ag Innovation Center and CIRCAP Incorporated. We look forward to working with you as you go through the process and offer additional courses that are available to you, as well as one-on-one counseling to assist you through your process of opening your business. Today we will cover what is an entrepreneur. Really, what are the traits that are out there that keep us and make us want to open businesses? Who are we selling to? We need to know about who our customers are to be able to understand where we go as a business. What are some of the rules that we should follow so that we can stay on track to becoming successful as entrepreneurs? What are some of the failures that are out there, and how do we overcome those failures? And again, how do we avoid some of the really big mistakes that are often killers for development of small business? We'll then take a few minutes to go over some of the next steps that you can take throughout your journey of becoming an entrepreneur. So what makes an entrepreneur? I get asked that question quite often, and a lot of times I'll give kind of a programmed response of passion, dedication, hard work, the things you typically hear out there. But giving it some deeper thought as I look for this course, I wanted to give you some more detailed analysis of what I see in the market. But I bet if you don't have these things in your life, your chances of business success are going to be greatly diminished. Number one, you've got to be self-motivated. If you don't have the wherewithal to bounce out of bed in the morning without someone pouring cold water on you, the chances of you becoming a successful entrepreneur go down. Business demands that you take time and action based solely on your own accord. You have to do 100 things as an entrepreneur all the time. If you don't get it, it isn't going to get done. You got to be willing to work. If you think working for someone else is hard, working for yourself is that much harder. You'll be required to give every ounce of blood, sweat, and tears you can muster, and then some, to make your business successful. You can expect long hours, at least in the beginning, and if the mere thought of making you work that hard, it makes you tired, probably shouldn't be looking to leave your day job. Also, you don't want to start a business in something that you know nothing about. If you don't know how to cook, you probably shouldn't open a restaurant, because the cost of learning that skill and the things that you're going to do to irritate your customers along the way are going to be detrimental to you being able to be successful in that business. You got to be able to embrace failure, because you're going to fail. I will tell you, if business was easy, everybody would do it. So you've got to be able to realize you're going to make some mistakes and be able to dust yourself off, get up, and continue to work. You got to have support is the next thing. If you don't have a good support system, the chance of being successful as an entrepreneur goes down significantly. You're going to spend a lot of time away from your family to do this and do it well. So knowing that, you have to have a family who's dedicated to your growth as well as you are. Next, you better have some thick skin, because there's a lot of things that are going to make it very difficult. You're going to have some very difficult discussions as you go along. Rejection comes about quite often as a small business owner, and you got to be able to accept it and move forward very easily. It's not personal, it's business. You got to think that and remember that as you move forward. You got to be good with people, because I will tell you, if you don't like people, then you're probably not going to be successful as an entrepreneur. Because you've got to be able to talk to people. You got to be able to work with people. You got to be able to negotiate. You've got to be able to find ways of common ground. So understanding and liking people goes a long ways towards that. And finally, you've got to be able to delegate, because as you grow, your businesses will grow to the point where you can't do everything yourself. So you're going to need to trust others. And if you have a hard time trusting others, your business is going to be limited by how much you're willing to let others do. One of the big challenges that small businesses run into is who are they selling their products to? Who is their market? So you got to think about who needs your product. You also want to think about how badly they're going to need it. Is it something they have to use every day? Or is it something they buy once in a blue moon? Is it a necessity or is it a luxury item? Will they buy it from someone new in the market? Because chances are there's someone selling similar product to what you have. So you have to be able to analyze what they're currently buying, where they're buying it from, and if they're willing or able to engage in buying from a new provider. I can't stress enough the importance of knowing who you're selling to. So that's why I'm going to give you a quick quiz to help you be able to think about who you're trying to reach as a customer. If you can't answer these questions, then you have to think, how am I going to be able to connect with my audience in a meaningful way that will have them wanting to buy products from me? So number one, who are your customers going to be? It's a very easy question, but at the same time, one that's so very important. Are you selling to mothers? Are you selling to people who are fitness junkies? Are you selling to people who are foodies? You have to think about who you're trying to reach within your market. And the next question is, where do they live, work, and play? Think about their lifestyle. Think about what they do every day and how they tend to live their lives. That will go a long ways in helping you determine how to reach them as customers. The third is, what problems do they have that you're trying to solve? Most of the reason why you buy something, sometimes it's impulse buying, but most of the time you believe it'll solve something in your life or do something that will make you feel better or something that has an issue that you're trying to resolve in your life. So think about what problems are out there and what your product can do to help you alleviate those concerns. How does your product fit into their life? It's okay to have a product, but if it doesn't fit into their life, then it's not going to be something they're going to purchase. So you want to make something that's going to be easy for them to incorporate. The next one you want to think about is, who else do they buy? What else do they buy in your product categories? When you think about product categories, let's say it's produce. If you're selling lettuce, you're probably also going to be thinking, well, they probably want carrots and they want cucumbers and they're probably even going to maybe want some strawberries. Just what do you think is in a salad? Well, when you're thinking in that regard, you might have some other product or offerings you can have out there that will help you grow, or at least create partnerships to help you grow as a business. The next question is, where do they get their information regarding my product? Well, how are they going to find out about you? How do you plan on reaching them? What channels are you going to use? And again, there's a lot of information out there, especially on the web and even in newspapers and other ways of reaching people. So how do you get through the noise that's out there? That's something I want you to think about as you're growing and looking to see who you're trying to reach. Next is, what is the most important to them? If it's not important to them, they're not going to buy it. It's not going to be something they have to have. So you want to know what's important to them to help them to understand why they should buy your product. What are they most afraid of? Is it change? Is it something that's going to make them afraid to buy from a new person? Are they scared that you're not going to be able to stand behind your product? Think about the fears that they're going to have and how you're going to be able to meet something in the market that alleviates those fears. The next is, what is their emotional connection to your product? A lot of times people buy things based on feelings. So you want to have something that's going to make them feel good about what they're purchasing. That goes a long ways as you grow and develop. And then finally, how do they rationally purchase your product? Rationalize purchasing your product. You want to make sure that it's something that they're going to be able to say, okay, in their mind, this is a great product offering. This is something I want to purchase. You want them to be able to think about that and be able to purchase that product successfully as they move along. So, thinking on those terms, how did you do? Could you answer the questions? If you can't answer those, chances are your marketing messages aren't going to reach those customers. Make time, take time, do corporate research to understand who your customers are. Learn all you can about them and use this quiz as a nice little guideline to help you think about who you're trying to sell to. When you're able to speak directly to the needs of those customers, they will respond and your business will grow. Now that you've thought about who your customers are, you need to know how many people are in that market for what you're trying to sell or develop. There's two main ways to size the market that you're trying to reach. One is considered a top-down approach, which is look very broadly at the overall market and try to tailor it down to a targeted area. The other way is considered a bottom-up approach, which takes all the way down from store sales, even down to a unit sale, and building it up to the total market that is available in your area. I like using both approaches. They may not be the same at the end of the day, but as long as they're close, it gives you a great idea of what your potential is in your market. When using a top-down approach, you want to make sure you're using very reliable data sources. You want to think about how that data can help you calculate your market size, and a lot of it's available at very low cost or even free from groups like the Bureau of Labor Statistics, whether you're looking in terms of Esri or some other companies that are out there that can provide this data for you to understand where you're growing and can go within a market for your business. Be consistent and clear in your approach because you're looking at multiple sets. So you want to make sure you're very consistent in what you're looking at. Make sure your calculations are documented and so you can rely on that same data in order to get the information necessary to see how big your market can be. And ask a lot of questions through the process. Like think about who are those customers, think about where they're located, think about whether the market's growing or shrinking, and then aim to get a full picture of your market as possible. You want to know as much as you can before investing money in opening a business. So let me give you an example of how you would use the top-down approach to look at business and look at a market. So after a stellar Googling session, you find 3 sources saying that the healthy food industry in the Mid-Atlantic is a $4 to $5 billion a year market. You take the average of 4.5 billion to be the best estimate of the truth, but you really aren't in the overall healthy market industry. So you do sell tomatoes, but that's only a small portion of that industry. So how do I go about going from here? Through additional research, you estimate that approximately 20% of all healthy food costs are vegetables, and tomatoes make up 33% of the cost of vegetables. So, 20% of 4.5 billion and 33% of that number. So, in how you think about that, 20% of 4.5 billion is 0.9 billion, which is your estimate of the cost of vegetables. Now multiply that by 33%, and you'll see where your market size is. Using those calculations, you would have a top-down market estimate of $297 million for that market. Now, the top-down approach is a great starting point, but I much rather prefer using the bottom-up approach on top of using a top-down approach. Because what you're doing at this point is you're using sales data or individual clusters versus a larger overall global market. You also understand your customer segments. This is where you have to truly know who your customers are, because if you don't, you're going to get bad data. So understanding who those customers are so you can tailor it to that customer segment. And you want to make sure your estimates are reasonable based on the size of the market and the sales and the number of customers that you're trying to reach. A lot of people who use this approach tend to overestimate their sales because they think the market is bigger than it is. So be reasonable as you come about thinking how I'm going to grow my sales using this market approach. Now looking at how to do a bottom-up example, we're going to again stay with tomatoes. So we're going to start very simply about using a single unit price, which is basically one tomato equal to $1. And how did we get that number? We went around looking at the competition and saw what they were charging for a tomato. So then we did a survey of some of our local customers, and we realized that on average they buy about 3 tomatoes per week. So thinking about that, each customer I have will probably buy 3 tomatoes a week. Then we did some additional research. This told us that there were 35,000 households in a given city area. The number of households they reach plus the average customer price of a tomato equals how much revenue they can get per city. From there, it's just a matter of multiplying out the information and looking in terms of how they want to operate and where they want to operate. Well, they wanted to operate in 30 different cities, which brought the potential revenue up to $163.8 million. So how do we factor those numbers? Well, you took the $1 for the tomato times $3, times 3 for the number of tomatoes they're going to buy per week, times 52 weeks of the year. And then we took 35,000 households in a city times 30 cities. That's how we extrapolated a $1.63.8 million market for the tomatoes in your area. Now remember, you're going to see a little different number between the bottom approach and the top-down approach. But to see where they are and see, the similarities, you might want to say if they're way, way, way off from one another, there might be a reason for that. So it might give you a chance to go back, check your parameters again, and look closer as you go along with your research. Now that we've established a market, we have to think about some rules for you as an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur requires you to look at the big picture and follow a plan from beginning to end. So you really should start thinking and mapping out where you're going as a company. So I'm going to give you some practical guidelines that can help you from the beginning of your enterprise through to its success. Number one, don't quit your day job just yet, okay? If you're a startup, you don't want to have the added pressure of being able to make your mortgage payment while you're still trying to grow your business. Most businesses take at least 6 months to a year to begin to become cash positive in any way, shape, or form. So it's going to take some time to build a market. And if you're worried about making your mortgage payment or making payments on your car or whatever else, you're not going to do well with that. So don't waste time, but at the same time, make sure that you have the ability to pay your bills at startup, and don't get to the point where you get stressed to the point where it becomes overwhelming as a beginning business. Number two is find your niche, especially online. There's stores out there that specialize in just about anything. You have to find what your customer needs and really go after a specific group of people in order to be successful. But you can't get into the big chain stores, so you have to find ways to reach them elsewhere. So creating a niche, trying to do something that's going to be different, do something that's going to make them want to come buy from you. The next thing I'm going to tell you about is you got to have an online presence today. Everybody in the world is looking on their cell phones or online with their tablets or even sometimes on desktops and looking to see what to buy and where to buy it and how to buy it. So you need to have something that's going to appeal to that group of people you're trying to reach. You need to be able to find ways to touch them in situations and make them feel that you are the best choice for your business. And then lastly, refuse to quit. Successful entrepreneurs require creativity, energy, and a drive to keep going when all others fail. Few people realize that before Bill Gates created Microsoft, he created Microsoft 1.0 and Microsoft 1.2, both of which flopped, but he kept at it. And then his third iteration, Microsoft 3.0, is what actually took off and turned into the company that Microsoft is today. So don't be afraid to fail. You're going to fail on multiple occasions. It's how do you overcome that failure and grow and not make the same mistakes. Again, I want to make sure you learn that I'm not here to scare you about this, but failure is part of running a small business. You're going to have to overcome failure to grow and develop. So here are some things to think about overcoming failure as a small business owner. Number one, you need to learn from your mistakes. Think about how you learned to ride a bike. What you don't realize is you fell off probably 100 times in the process of doing so. And every time you've made a mistake and fell, you had to learn from it so that you could make it easier the next time you tried. So what I want you to think about, and actually to even do, is I want you to think about your last failure, and I want you to write down 5 things that you learned from it the last time you failed at something. Number 2, don't dwell on the failure. Don't wallow in it. It happened. Get over it. Move on. Now that you've basically learned from the mistake, don't let it become all-encompassing to your future. Think about what you've learned, and then think about what that key first thing you're going to do, as we did from the last time, the 5 things you learned from your mistake. Now tell me what you're going to key on to improve it the next time you come through. Don't be afraid to try again. Again, if you fell off your bike the first time and then never got back up again, you wouldn't be riding a bike today. So have determination and follow that dream and the potential that kept you getting back on that bike again and again and again, because that's what it's going to take to be successful as an entrepreneur. Number 4, surround yourself with positive people. If you're trying to achieve something, you don't want someone telling you can't do it. You want to know that you have people behind you who are going to push you and help you overcome the failures that you have, that can talk to you, that can give you advice, and encourage you to continue on and grow and develop your business. So I want you to take some time and think about who in your life and who in your group of people that you know can help you be successful, and then find ways to work with them and stay positive around them as you continue to grow and develop your business. And then finally, learn that failure is part of the learning curve to becoming successful. Failures and mistakes, they aren't fun, but they do help us to grow and develop and achieve where we're trying to go. There are no secrets to success. It is a result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure. So think back to a time when you succeeded. Think about how many times you failed or made mistakes before you actually got that success. So now that you have these 5 keys to overcoming failure, just go out and do it. Because I'm going to tell you, life lessons are best learned through experience. I hate to say that. You're going to have your times that you're going to have experiments that are going to work, some things that aren't going to work, but the more you realize and the more you work and the more you continue to think about ways to improve, the better you're going to be and grow your business. To be honest, it's hard to avoid making mistakes. When you face a situation for the first time, many times you don't know what to do and you're going to make mistakes. And even if you've been a CEO for a long time or founder for a long time, some of these mistakes you're going to make again because they're just common. It's something that everybody seems to go through. So we're going to do a self-assessment here. I want you to think about this, and I want you to give yourself 10 points for each of these entrepreneurial blunders that you are in the process of making. And then I want you to give yourself 5 points for any that you've narrowly avoided. And your score, of course, at the end of the day, will help you understand where some of these pitfalls are and where you're looking to go as a business. Number 1, big customer syndrome. If 50% of your revenues come from any one customer, you could be headed for a disaster. It's both easier and more profitable to deal with a smaller number of big customers, but you become quite vulnerable if something happens within their market, and you could lose a lion's share of your cash flow. You tend, I will tell you, to make silly concessions, absolute dumb business decisions in efforts to keep them. many times actually losing money in the process. You make special investments to handle these specific requirements. So you might actually end up taking all of your cash flow to make an inventory decision that may actually affect your business down the road. And you become so busy serving that one customer that you forget about your other customers and other revenue streams, and oftentimes can lead to a full collapse of your business. So think about that before making one customer that large a portion of your business. Number 2, creating products in a vacuum. You have a great idea. You even spend months and years implementing the idea. But when you bring it to market, no one wants it. 42% of small business owners, when they did a poll from CB Insights, said that they did not have a market for their product. And again, as we've talked about earlier, and why I stress so much about having a market for your product, you want to make sure you're not creating something that no one wants. Do not build out your product in a vacuum. Make sure you're doing things out there that people have a chance to look at, touch, and be able to make decisions and give you feedback on whether you're on the right path. Do that market research that we talked about. Make sure you know who those potential customers are and figure out if they're willing to buy it. That's such a big, important aspect of where we go as business owners. Number 3, don't create equal partnerships. If you might be the best salesman in the world, but absolutely a disaster in operations. But here's the thing. If 2 people have joint ownership at 50% apiece, no one has the authority to make a final decision. You have to have decision authority rest with at least one person in the company. Because if you don't have that aspect of the business in place, then you two can actually be at odds and end up spinning wheels and actually hurting your ability to move forward in a market. Number 4, trying to be the low-cost provider. Some entrepreneurs think that they can be the low-cost player in the market and make huge profits on volume. Would you work for low wages? Chances are probably not. So why would you sell at low wages or low prices? Remember, margins pay for all your marketing, pay for all your product development, and low margins equals low profit equals no future. So the bigger the gross, the better if you can. And truthfully, you do not have the processes in place to compete with those who are major volume providers. So set your price high as your market will bear. Understanding that, going and finding out where the market is and seeing where you think your product can fit within that configuration. Figure all of your incremental cost. Be able to understand what it costs you to make that product. And if you're offering a service, make sure it's a service that can be profitable, that you actually make a profit per hour that you're doing it. When customer clients stop buying, you've gone too far. So understand where those customers are, but at the same time, understand when you need to make a profit. Profit is not a bad word. Next one, not enough capital in the business. Basically, if your optimistic sales projections and too short on product development timelines, you might actually end up making your product to the point where it's not profitable to make. So, don't forget your weak competitors, regardless of the cause. Many businesses are simply undercapitalized. They don't have enough money to make their bills. They don't have enough money to keep things going. So you want to make sure you have an adequate cash flow from month to month to month to be able to be successful in the business. If you don't have money to make bills from month to month, then you have some changes that you have to make in your business. The next one is losing focus. So again, as I jokingly say, there are people who chase shiny things. Like the reason why fish hit spinners is they shine in the water. Well, there's a lot of water out there and there's a lot of things that shine. So you want to make sure that you are hungry for your idea, your product, your customers, and don't chase everything under the market to try to do something new with a new product, new distribution channel, something that's going to be the next best thing. Be the best thing that you're doing. So don't lose focus on what your business is actually there to do. The next one is, excessive overhead. You've started your company. The last thing you want to go is go get $20,000 for the brand new office furniture and pay yourself a high executive salary and really develop a lot of overhead on your business right off the bat. You want to be humble as a business owner, because I will tell you, I hate to say it, you're going to be cheap on your furnishings. You're going to be cheap on what you can even pay yourself. Remember, you don't get paid until the business starts making money. So when you think about these things, every time you're spending money on elaborate things for your business, you're not putting money into product development, you're not putting money into sales, and you're not putting money into marketing, which means your product's going to be behind where others are in the market. So unless there's a significant return on the expenditure, don't spend the money. The next one is perfectionism. Don't let a perfect plan ruin a good plan. The disease is also found in engineers who won't release products until they're absolutely perfect. So do you remember the 80-20 rule? Follow this rule most of the time in life. The last 20% of a project could take longer or more than it did to develop the other 80% of the product. When it comes to product development, perfection is unattainable in most cases and very, very costly to do so. So you want to think about creating a minimum viable product. What can I get to the market easily and cheaply enough to be successful in the market? So think about that as you're going along. You don't, again, want to ruin a good plan for a perfect plan. The next one is no clear return on investment. So if you're going to spend money developing a product or service, you want to make sure it's able to generate revenues coming back to you. If you're developing something and you can't see where that money's coming back, don't spend it. You should know before you make any business decision. You should be doing projections of what the cost structure is going to be, of what the profit margin is going to be, what you're going to be offered for in the market, how much of your cash flow is going to be tied up in developing that product, and you want to make sure there's actually a return on the money that you're spending in your business, because every dollar you spend needs to have dollars attached coming back. So if it's not a slam dunk, you might want to walk away from certain investments. And then finally, not admitting your mistakes. Yes, mistakes are costly. Yes, mistakes hurt. But to be awful to make a mistake and then continue to on that mistake because you're not willing to admit that it was a failure. Sometimes it's hard, but trust me, it's a lot better than bankruptcy. So assume that whatever you've invested, those costs are sunk. It's gone. That money is gone when you have a mistake. Don't worry about it, because you're starting back again from zero. You're not starting in that hole. You're starting back from zero. From this perspective, it would allow you to reinvest fresh money in a new idea. If it's not, walk away. If you can't reinvest and do something differently, walk away from it. Change course. Whatever you have to do, do not continue to throw your good money after a bad product. So, how did you do on this assessment? Because this is something I want you to use now and into the future, because knowing this and knowing these pitfalls will help you go a long ways to making sure your business is not only successful, continues to be successful as you go down the road. Congratulations on going through the main part of this course. Now I'm going to give you a few steps to think about where we go from here. Number one, I'm going to tell you, sign up for other classes, whether it be with us at Chesapeake Ag Innovation Center, whether it be through Future Harvest, whether it be through the Small Business Development Center, or even SCORE. There are plenty of opportunities out there to learn more about how to operate a business. The more you know, the better you're going to be. Entrepreneurs are lifelong learners. The more you know about your market, the better you're going to be. The more you know about operating a business, the better you're going to be. The less money you're going to spend, and the more it's going to save you in the long run. Number two is seek assistance, whether it be through a counselor with us
or counsel with many other agencies that are out there to assist. There's a lot of free assistance that we have that can help you to understand your markets, understand your problems in your business, and help you overcome some of the challenges that you're going to face as you move down the road. And finally, please get to know other entrepreneurs. Develop a network of strong people you know that can help you overcome business challenges. Because I can guarantee you, if you have a business challenge and you bring it up to a strong group of entrepreneurs, at least someone in that room has experienced the issue and somebody has ideas and answers to help you get to that next step. So please develop your online network and your network of in-person entrepreneurs. This concludes our course today. Again, we want to thank you for being here. And if you want to learn more about different things we offer to value-added producers in Maryland and Delaware, please visit us at caic.org. Thank you and have a wonderful day.